Hi friends, I hope you are having a lovely day. It is a beautiful sunny day here. It's quite windy. Don't think the camera will pick up the wind outside, but it's quite windy, but it is a beautiful sunny day. And the past couple of weeks I have been on and off deep cleaning the studio, tidying up and organizing. And I've recently taken over our formal dining room, which we hardly ever use, as part of my studio and shop, a space where I can keep all of my, or most of my shop stock sort of on display so that I can easily access it. And also it just makes me feel a bit more like a shop owner, having it sort of all out, and it looks really nice. So I thought it was time that I did a studio tour, because I haven't done one on this channel and I certainly haven't done one in a long time. And I think what stops me is usually my studio is in a state of chaos or semi-chaos. It's a working studio, so I often have a lot of stuff out, and sometimes it takes me a little bit of time to put it away and things get disorganized. It's by no means a perfect space, but it's my perfect space. And I do love that I get to come in here each day and work and stitch and just be in my happy place. So I hope you have a nice cup of tea or coffee or cold drink and a stitchy project, and let me take you on a walk through my studio space. Okay, so my studio is located in our house, and it is what would be a rumpus room or a formal lounge room. So we live in a split level home, and my studio is on the, you could say, the middle level, because the ground level, if I pan down here, and this is our foyer, and it's very messy. Okay, so this is our front door and our foyer. There's some of my market stall stuff there. Through that door is our garage. So technically that is the first level of our home. And then you come up a flight of stairs to my studio space. And on the other side of this wall here, which is also on this level, is our master bedroom. And then we go upstairs again to, we've got our formal dining area, and our shop space is just up here. We've got our laundry and bathroom, and then up through here, behind here, is our kitchen and living area, and the kids' bedrooms and office on the other end of the house. So when we bought this house, as soon as I saw this room, I earmarked it as my studio space. And it is a lovely big space, and it's quite luxurious, really. I feel very lucky to have such a big space that I can dedicate to my business and my craft. Okay, so let's have a look through here. All right, so as we come up, we'll go around this side first. So this is my little computer desk area with my two screens. I've got a set of drawers down here that has stationery and bits and pieces like that in it. So I've got my in tray, which is always full of paperwork that I need to file. I'm very bad at doing that. And then these drawers down here hold this set, and you can see that I have labeled some of them, have different sewing notions and things like that. On the other side, I've got packaging and sort of businessy things. And then we pan up here. This is my little curiosity wall. So I've got some sweet makes that I've made myself. Larissa from Stitching Notes, she made that for me and gifted it to me when she came to my first workshop that I did, which was super sweet. I found this very fine tapestry lady while thrifting. Some of my pieces beautiful vintage plate. This design is by Loan of Molly and Mama, which I did. And this little one down here, the embroidery, that's also her design. And then I added the hexy border. It's a cute little raffia chair that I found thrifting. And this is one of my latest patterns, this little mini pennant. So put that there. And I've got my strawberry lights, I haven't turned them on. Let's see if I can turn them on so you can see what they look like. You can't really see them in the daylight, but there we go. So I do like to decorate my studio with little bits and pieces. I've had this little So Happy sign for a while, some vintage needles, and I've recently seen Dottie B use these as hangers for little wall hangings and quilts. I thought that is a great idea, so I'm gonna collect some more so that I've got some that I can display and some that I can use for hangers. So this is my cutting machine. This is what I use to cut all of the paper templates that I sell, and behind that is my my music, what do you call it, speaker thing, flowers. Out here you can see we've got a balcony with a very dirty table that I haven't cleaned, and down here at the moment I've got a big box of paper I've just shoved down there, but that's where I keep my sewing machine, which very rarely comes out of hiding. Mostly stays down there. And then as we come across here, I've got this work trolley. Underneath this is a laser cutting machine that I've had for ages and just haven't got around to building it. And yes, it probably would make my life quicker and easier with cutting the papers, but I think my ADHD brain, it's just one of those things where if something's working, which, you know, this does work and I can cut all my papers on it, I just will use that until it no longer works, and I'm forced to, you know, build this laser cutting machine. And, you know, like, I do want to build it. It's just one of those things that I just always gets pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. But anyway, on top of here I have my beautiful vintage tablecloth that I did the heart on. And then this is a pile of linens that I just received, so I need to wash and soak those. And this pile is a pile of fabric that I need to wash. I do like to pre-wash my fabrics. Sometimes I don't have time to, and I don't, but when I do have time, I do like to pre-wash them, just in case the color, you know, usually with modern fabrics these days, the dye is not going to run. But sometimes they do still shrink a little bit, but I just like to wash them. It's just a habit that I've gotten into. My mum washed her fabric, so I wash my fabric. Under the trolley, I've got a box of paper here, and these are the cutting mats. And then down here, at the moment, I've got some empty boxes that I've been able to get the stock out and move. This still has stock in it. This one is actually empty at the moment. And I've got a box of hoops down there. So I really want this to become somewhere where I put all my packaging boxes, which I've just ordered a whole heap of new packaging boxes. So I do need to sort out where I can sort of move some of this stuff to. Up above here, I've got my faux plants hanging. I do like to use faux flowers. I find them kitsch and cute and a little bit whimsical. And I've got these little parrots up here. These were actually Christmas decorations, but I thought they were super cute, and I really like having those cheeky little parrots hanging up there. Okay, so I've come back over here. I'm sort of standing where my computer is, and this is my big table that I've got in here, which I got from IKEA many years ago when we moved in. And underneath here, I've got a lot of empty tubs because I've been able to move the stock out of here, but I still need these plastic tubs because this is what I use to transport stock when I'm doing the shows. So there are some fabric bundles in some of these that I need to photograph and put up on the website. I've got this little plastic drawer unit here that has my felt and scrapbooking. Not that I do scrapbooking, but I've got scrapbooking supplies in there. And then in these tubs all underneath here, a lot of this is all the vintage stock that I have. So some of it is my stash and some of it is for the shop, but there's all vintage sheets and vintage fabrics, large vintage linens, all the doilies and everything like that are all stored in these plastic crates underneath the table. And the table, this is very much a working table. It is often full of stuff, either orders that I'm packaging up. I do have some project baskets on here, not as many as I used to because I've been able to move a lot of them up to the dining room. This is a pile of vintage bits that I'm keeping. So I'm going to do a vintage haul on those. And this is a strawberry themed hamper that my mum just gifted to me yesterday. A bit of a belated present because she couldn't give it to me on my actual birthday. But I'm going to share that as well when I do my haul video. But super cute and super fun. I think she had a lot of fun putting that together as well. So anyway, this is the table that it's usually set up. I like to set it up all pretty and nice. This is a little felted galah that one of my very good customers who always comes to visit me at the shows, she actually made it at one of the shows and she didn't want to keep it. And I said to her that my daughter would love it, but when I got it home, I was like, you know what? I'm going to stick it in my vase of flowers because it just reminds me of all the beautiful customers that I have and how kind and generous they can be. So that's my cute little galah. Tilly likes to think, Tilly always comes down and she says, I want to eat it. It looks like fairy floss, which it kind of does. So yeah, and then we come over here. That's one of my project baskets over there. And these are my little dishes that I use when I'm cutting fabric. One is for rubbish or stuffing, and the other one is for scraps that need to be put away. This is my cutting bench. At the moment, you can't see the cutting mat because it's underneath my photo board. So this is the board that I use when I'm doing all my photography. It's a wall lining board from Bunnings. It's like a panel that you can put on the wall, which I've painted white. On the other side, it's solid and it's painted a different color, but I rarely use the other side. I mostly use the white side. And then at the end of my cutting bench here, I've got one of those IKEA peg boardy things, which I use to hold all my cutting tools and my cutting mats. So over here in this corner is my armchair. I only just got this armchair at the beginning of the year. I've always wanted to have an armchair in here. And I found this one on Marketplace for a pretty good price. It's a nice big comfy armchair. It probably is a little bit big for this space, but I make do. And I've been on the hunt for a footstool for it, and I recently came across this one, which I picked up for 20 bucks. I'm going to sand it and paint it because I don't really like the dark timber color. And I may or may not replace the cover, like the fabric. I don't mind this fabric. I think it is quite pretty. I think maybe once I've painted it, I might like it more. But I think I just don't like it with this dark timber at the moment. So that's on the list of things to do. But this is my armchair. I've got my skip around the garden quilt behind and my my garden lattice cushion. And this is a cushion that I found at a thrift store. And then this is my fancy new daylight lamp, which I got from Spotlight. And it's got a remote and it has lots of different color settings. So you can make it, so you can make it lighter or darker. So I don't know if you can tell, but that's making it lighter or brighter, or what am I saying? Dimmer or brighter. And you can change the color, so you can make it really warm. I don't know if you can really pick that up on the screen, or you can make it quite cool. And then it has pre-built settings as well, so you can change it. But yeah, so it's really good, and it really does help me now stitching, especially of an afternoon when the light goes from down here. And behind here I've got one of the little Billy bookcases, and this is where I keep my vintage bits for my stash, so trims and doilies and linens and tapestries, scraps, and then I've got all my Liberty fabric in there, and then I've got all of my little boxes for organising my paper templates are all in there as well. The very top is a project basket for some crochet projects, and then over here is the beautiful wardrobe, which we my former business partner actually found this on Facebook Marketplace, and we had it in our old shop that we had together. And then when we closed up, she very kindly said that I could take this because she always imagined my quilts in this. So I have just recently bought some chalk paint to paint the inside over this white. They didn't do a very good job painting the inside, and I really wish they hadn't painted this part. I don't know why they did that. It's a bit annoying. But I've got a lovely sort of peachy pink colour, which I think will go really nice with the honey timber to paint inside. And then Tim, my husband, is going to help me put some shelves in here so that I can stack my projects and fold quilts and stack quilts in there. So I want to do that quite soon because as you can see, it's a little bit messy in here. These are some of my project baskets. And then it's also got this really good drawer, really big deep drawer, and I've got a lot of unfinished projects in there. It's another project basket down there, and my little coffee table or side table. And then this is my little balcony, or round the balcony. Come out here. It's a lovely spot in the morning in the sunshine. There's lots of leaves because it's been very windy. We've got a trailer full of green waste to go, but this is my front garden, which is looking that's a lot of weeds in there. And we've recently just widened that garden bed a bit, and I'm watering some box plants to make a bit of a small hedge. But we used to have here, in this space here, you will have seen it in some old photos and videos and things of mine. We had this giant Streslexia tree bush thing that was huge, and we've hated it for a long time, and we finally got it taken out. So that's gone. And then we used to have here a big lily pilly, and that's what's in the trailer ready to go to the green waste. We've had that cut down, or my husband cut that down as well. So now I can see my beautiful, I can never remember what this is called. It's like a pink feather lantern tree or something like that. It's always beautiful. But in this space, you can see here where the lily pilly was. Hopefully we can dig that stump out, otherwise I will plant around it. But I want to put a trio of small growing birch trees here, because I love birch trees, and I think they will look beautiful there. And being deciduous, they'll let the light in the colder months. And these are a couple of pots that I recently did, some spring containers to put in this corner now that we get sun here, because before this would have all been always in shade. And we've got a couple of just armchairs here, and this table, which I also need to paint, and I want to tile the top of it. And then back this way, got my rubber plant. I think it's called a rubber plant. There's Rosie sitting in the sun. And I need to do some attention to these pots and this corner. So this is my other little planting corner here. But some of these pots I need to get rid of them now. They didn't quite survive the winter. They're looking a bit disheveled. So I'm going to get some new potted colour to put here. And this is a little table that we've got, and just some, I want to get some new chairs for here. Potentially a new table as well. But yeah, so that's our little balcony. Okay, so then over this end, these are the stairs that go up to a dining room. You can see our laundry's up there as well. I've got a lot of bags here that have all sorts of things in them. There's a bag of just bags, and then some of my display pieces or like samples are here at the moment. I just hung them up there because I've got a run of shows coming. Well, I've got 2 shows coming up, and there's just no point putting them away until I'm finished with the shows. So they're just there at the moment. I've got a little vintage sewing box down there that's got threads in it, and then this is my little tub of you know, all those sorts of things that you use in your sewing, adhesives and stabilizers and stuff. My ironing board. And then this is my wall, which has a lot of my samples and works on it. Up the top here, this is where I keep my empty baskets. The Maker's Stash sign is crochet with felt letters, and my mum made that for me. And this, on this wall here, are just some of my favourite things, some artworks and some of my works and some photos, and just some lovely little things. So this is one of the pieces that I did that has embroidery on it. We've got 2 artworks here, and I can't remember the artist's name. She's Australian. She does have a YouTube channel, so I might link that below. Just some fun little things. My mum made me the little gnome. And then up here we've got a photo of my uncle who passed away when I was quite young. A photo of my parents. A little duck that I requested my mum make for me because there's no way I could knit that myself. This was the little sample piece that I made when I was doing Fleur Wood's online course. And this is another little gnome that my mum made for me because it's a strawberry gnome. I love strawberries. A little tapestry that I found thrifting. It's my grandparents who did live in England. They've passed away now. It was my mum's parents. And this little sign that my daughter bought for me for Mother's Day. And then I've got this lovely crochet garland, which was an Emma Lamb garland. And these are my 4 Seasons Hexie flower gardens up here. So here is one of those not so pretty areas of the studio, but all necessary things. So there's a lot of packaging and stuff down here. And one basket full of half-finished things and all sorts of different things in there. I really need to sort through that. And then here I've got some faux flowers and my cottage cookie jar that I found thrifting. Still one of my most favourite finds to date. I ran so quickly into the op shop when I saw that in the window and snatched it out of the window before anyone else could get it. And then over here we've got my fabric cabinets. So these are all the shop stock fabrics in here. And down here I've got that's my ironing pile under those cushions. I've got a stool, and then underneath the stairs is full of stuff. So there's wadding under there, there are like computer gear stuff under there, there's all sorts of stuff under there. And then I've got some folders here with patterns and different things. And behind this beautiful vintage shawl, I've got patterns and kits that aren't mine, they're ones that I've bought, beads and buttons, bare yarn, and just other bits and pieces sort of stashed up there. And then in the very top shelf, I've got some of my bits and pieces as well. Some baskets that I haven't even looked in for ages, so I really should have a look in those. And there's a few little treasures in there as well. There's a little teddy bear and this little fabric horse that my mum actually bought for my daughter, and I kind of stole it because it reminds me of Libby fabric and it's a horse, so I took that. And here's a little look at all the beautiful fabric. We'll open up the cabinets. So some really lovely fabrics in the shop. And more coming, which is why I've had to expand upstairs. That's that one. And then I've got a basket down here with yarn and fabrics. These are fabrics that I pulled out for there's 2 project quilts in there, and one of the quilts is finished. I really should put those fabrics away, but they're just sitting there for now. So up here I've got some more fabrics, all the beautiful fabrics. One of my favorite things is choosing the fabrics that I'm gonna put in the shop. I don't buy any fabric that I wouldn't use myself in my projects, so all of the fabrics that I stock because I love them and I think they're beautiful, and I would use them in any of my projects. And I would mix a lot of them up together. I'm very careful with curating a selection that you know, you can mix together to create that really lovely harmonious scrappy look, which is what I'm always doing in my projects. Okay, so this is looking to the other side of the table and cutting mat. So I've got my paper bin down here, my camera stand, a bag of stuff I need to find somewhere for, my packaging paper, there's packaging supplies under there. It's a little bit messy around here. This is a big bag of ironing that I need to do of recent vintage bits. And then under here, this tub has fabric from my stash in it, and this is my stash of vintage sheets. That's a cabinet that I bought for my daughter that I'm doing up, which I bought like 2 years ago. I'm still not finished. Don't judge. There's lots of all different types of half-finished projects around here. So light box down there. This is the only space I've got where I can actually put a chair and sit at the table to sew. That container down there has, I can't remember what in it. Oh, that's my surplus papers. And then I've got some vintage things down here that again need to be sort of upcycled in a way. There's a whole heap of vintage teacups under there to be made into pincushions. This is a lovely tapestry which I'm going to show in my vintage haul. And then over this side I've got these IKEA drawer units, and they're all, except for the end one, these 2 here are all broken. So because of all the weight of the fabric in them, the bottoms have really bowed, so they're really hard to open. And they're just full of fabric. So I really need to go through my stash and organize it because it's gotten a little out of control. It was neat and tidy and it was all beautifully organized. Like I can't even open that without really tugging at it. You can see like it's just, yeah. So I need to come up with a solution to fix these drawers, which if you have any suggestions or ideas, I was thinking of taking the base of them out and then taking that to Bunnings, which is our hardware store, in Australia, if you're not in Australia. That's our big hardware chain store brand, Bunnings. So I was thinking of taking the base out and getting some kind of ply that I can put instead as the base and actually nail it to the sort of sides of the drawers themselves somehow, like so that it doesn't bow and come out. But I don't know, it seems like a lot of work, but I'm also of the mind where like nothing is wrong with the unit itself, it's just the drawers. And I don't know if IKEA sell replacement bases. I wish they did if they didn't, because that would make life a lot easier. So I might start there. I might see if I can just buy, you know, like the base again. Not because the drawer itself is fine, it's just the base of it. This one here I took out and I've just put back in again. And see, I can't now open it. Let's see. Yeah, so they're all like that except for the end one. The end one has only ever had yarn in it, and it still only has yarn in it. And yarn's not as heavy as fabric, even when you have a lot of it like I do. So these drawers are fine, and these ones open perfectly fine, but the other ones don't. So yeah, the only other thing I was thinking was I could take the drawers out completely and fix shelves in there somehow, but I don't really want to do that. I like to have my fabric away from the light and dust, so that's something I need to find a solution for. So on top of my drawer units I have all my lovely things. So this is my Garden of Patience, and these are 1/4" hexies, and this was the second thing that I made with 1/4" hexies. So I started with my little pincushion, which you will have seen in photos and videos, and then I made all these flowers and I made this wall hanging. So this is A3 size. There's over 1,000 hexies in that. I can't remember the exact quantity. And then I've got just a little glass, what do you call these? Apothecary type glass jars with minis and little bits of wool. This is a little vintage folk painted sewing box that I thrifted. There's nothing inside it at the moment. Thrifted tin. My mum made me this little owl. This is a Christmas decoration. My mum found this for me, and I bought this from, I think her name is Mary Culvert or Kilvert. She had a beautiful shop in Somerset in England, in Frome, England, which is where my grandparents used to live. And I bought this on a trip, my first trip there. I bought this little woolly sheep with its little jumper. It was so cute. A lovely little thrifted tin. And then this is where I keep all of my floss. So I picked up this in my local thrift shop, and it's perfect for all of my floss in there. And then this is was my grandmother's sewing machine, which she gave to me. She's no longer with us, so that's very special. I love that retro style sewing machine. And it sits on a runner that is one of the first patchwork projects I ever did. Let's make this little runner. Just a little trinket box that my mum gave me. Another thrifted basket. Thrifted tapestry. These are some beautiful suitcase cardboard boxes that I've got. I've got a smaller one as well. I love these for projects, and I love how pretty they are. Jar of vintage buttons there. Got some hearts that Tilly painted, and got some little lanterns up there. Then this is a little music thing from my grandmother. This is a thrifted, I think this is a coffee pot, but I knocked it over and smashed it, but I can fix it, so I just need to glue this piece back on, and I think I've got that little bit too, so I need to do that. Picked up this little, I don't know what they call this type of glass. but I just love the colour. Gorgeous. A little ornament for a friend, another little pretty tin, not vintage but made to look vintage. And my little curio cabinet in here has just some favourite little bits and pieces, some little trinket jars from my grandmother. I'll open this up because this one in here is really good. Look at this one. I got this at a thrift shop. This is hand painted. Isn't that beautiful? And so is this little, see that? It's very super fine little needlework. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I got that from a thrift shop as well. And then I don't have anything. Oh, I do have something in the, oh, these are bracelets and necklaces that Tilly has made. And then I've got some ceramic flowers here. We had these in my old shop in the business that I used to have. One of the local ladies made these ceramic flowers. Some more thrifted baskets. This one, I'll curse myself because it takes me ages to do that up. This one I relined, and of course it's a hexagon shaped one. And that's got lots of just, I don't know, random things in it. And this is a star design that I did. These are 1/2 inch 60-degree diamonds. And then over here I've got my printer with things that I need to fix for Tilly, filing cabinet, and then this is a messy corner or a not pretty corner. There's a box. This box down here has boxes in it for packaging. This is a scrap box, so all scrap fabrics in there, and then these are empty boxes, box of yarn, and I can't remember what's in that box. This is my light. For anyone who's interested, you can get it from Spotlight in Australia. But this is the light that I purchased. So that's the one if you want to get one for yourself. So above the drawers, I've got these shelves where I keep lots of different things. So I've got some of my work boxes or containers for EPP, and then I've got all these scrap boxes up here. Now, to be honest, I don't really use any of the scraps in here, so I'm contemplating if this is still a system that I want to use, and whether I should go through these scraps and give them away. Some of the scraps in here I don't think I will ever use, so I need to sort of decide if this is how I still want to organize all of my scraps, because sorry, because I've got that big crate of scraps. And what I tend to do now is I actually go to my stash, select a whole heap of fabrics, cut strips, put them in a box, and then I will pull from that for the projects that I am working on. So I just don't know if this is how I want to do it now. And there's more boxes up here, so all these boxes are scraps. So I'm sort of thinking about whether or not this is the system that I still want to use. There's other containers up there. There's a container up there of wool pieces, like wool fabric pieces. There's a container of 1/4 inch flowers. There's some linen bits up there. There's some scraps of batting and iron-on pellin. There's some project boxes here. There's my box of 1 inch hexies, felt scraps. There's these ones up here, all project boxes. And then down here, these are all my paper templates. And then I've got all my threads here. And then up there, I've got two Liberty boxes on the end. And then I've got scraps of cotton yarn. And I've got 2 boxes of twine up there, and I think there's a container of yo-yos, fabric yo-yos. So that's all the bits that I've got up there, and you can see I've got my yo-yo garland hung up, and I've got a little star there. Oh, and I didn't show this. It's a little sheep that my mum made. So that's the studio space down here. It really is lovely to work in here. So now I'll take you up to the extension, the new little shop space. And I call it my shop, but obviously no one will ever visit it except for me, because I can't really have customers come to my home. We have really bad access. We're up a private driveway. We have a steep driveway up to our house, and we don't have anywhere for parking. So, all right, so this is the dining room, or was the dining room, and is now my shop. So I'm really happy with how it's come together, and I'm very happy that my husband let me do this. We never use the dining room anyway. It's just a dumping ground for junk, to be honest. So I've moved all the junk and put my stuff in instead. So let me walk you through this little space. Okay, so we'll start in this corner. So through this door we go into our kitchen and our living area. So in here, this was here before. So this is my teacup cabinet with all of my, this is not all my collection, but a lot of them are in here. So all my lovely teacups in here. I've got a really beautiful collection. My parents have been collecting some recently for me, so a lot of them are from my dad. He really enjoys finding them and gifting them to me. Even though I've kind of run out of room for them now, it makes him happy to look for them and give them to me. So, you know, and they make me happy too. I'm just gonna need to get another cabinet soon. But that's my teacups. Okay, so then over here I've got a basket of some of my slow stitch projects, this is great because when I go to the shows I can take this, just pick this up, and I've got samples in here to show and inspire others. This is a basket of new bundles that are on the website. Well, they're on the website as I film this video. I'm calling these Spring Fling bundles. So there's a Spring Fling solids, spots and solids, and just spots. So great for spring projects. My mum came over yesterday and she brought me some beautiful flowers because I've been unwell. And then over here, this is my vintage treadle sewing machine, Singer sewing machine. And this here are the new Tilda, the Merry Little Christmas. So they're the bundles. So they're available for pre-order as we speak on the website. And then, so you can see here, if you look down here is the studio and the balcony. So then this is the new addition. So these are the IKEA, here's the Ivar shelves. And I built these last weekend, and you will have just seen a video clip of me setting up all the products on these shelves here. So let's have a look. So up the top, I've got some of my I've got a basket of cotton yarn, and then I've got some of my project baskets up here. I've got a couple of vintage pieces to sell, and then I've got some of my patterns and kits. This one's empty because I'm waiting on some felt and I need to make up some kits, so they'll go in there. And then these are my other, got all my patterns here, pretty patch packs here and in this basket. Then I've got all my pre-cut fat quarters, and then I've just moved up all of the solid fabrics. So these were in the cabinets downstairs, but I've moved them up here to make room for other stock that will be coming in the next couple of months. And then on the other side, so in all these containers, these are all the threads that I stock up here. And then I've got some more pre-cuts. These aren't on the website, but I take them to the shows and I make bundles and different things with them. So we've got some Tilda, these are all at Cello. I've got some Liberty, and then here are the Sewline glue sticks and refills. Then down here I've got all my fat 8s all cut, and then here we've got all fat quarters in solids, and then it's the new spots that I've just got in and a few new ginghams. Down here I've got another basket with just some of the Tilda bundles in. There's a big crate box down here that's full of vintage bits to sell. And then in here, this is just some random bits, so some wool blankets, some kits, and there's some slow stitch packs in there. They're not on the website. The wool blanket is, and the flower kits are, but the slow stitch ones are not. They're ones that I've made for shows. And then these smaller containers here, they're all needles and small notions in there. And then I use this tiered shelving unit when I'm doing my stall display. I've got 2 project baskets on there and some Tilda bundles. This is the wallflower bundle, so they're on the website. I've got this bucket down here which I intend to drill holes in to use as a planter, or to put plants in. This beautiful timber suitcase has some of my handmade stuff in it. And then this IKEA Calyx is full of a lot of yarn projects, or like crochet knitting projects, and there's some other bits and pieces in there as well. And then I've got some more baskets up here. Those ones are empty. So I'm on the hunt for a small timber, shabby chic, French provincial type, retro-y, I don't know, vintage dresser that I can put in this side here, like in this corner. I can move this Calyx unit down into my bedroom. But I'd really love some kind of vintage piece that I can put here, that I will take with me when I actually open up a physical shop. Same as these shelves, they'll go with me to my physical shop. But I really want some nice, beautiful vintage piece that I can put there and that I can use for more stock and bits and pieces. So this looks out to our backyard, and I recently picked up this vintage timber ironing board. It's hard to see with the light behind it, but it's got you can't really see that colour. It's got a lovely minty green, that retro green colour frame. And then on here I've got some baskets of bundles. So there's some vintage bundles and modern fabric bundles all in here. And I've got a lot of bundles cut ready to package up as well. I've got a beautiful orchid here in a vintage enamel teapot, and I actually bought this orchid from Bunnings a couple of weeks ago, and I went to repot it, and there were two plants in the one pot. So I split it. So I've got this one in here, and I've got another one. The other half of the other orchid is in our lounge room where originally I had it. So, so you can see I've pushed the dining table against this wall, and I think in the next couple of weeks I'd really like to actually paint this wall white. It's a light grey colour at the moment. And then I've got all my painted vintage plates, which I'd really like to do a display on this wall. So I think I'm going to do that hopefully in a couple of weeks. I don't know, when I find time. It's very hard to find time at the moment. But on the table at the moment, this is all the stuff that I use when I do my stalls. So because I've got a stall the third week of September, I haven't put any of this away because I just would have to drag it all out again. It does go away. It goes away in cupboards in the kids' rooms and in the office, but I've just left it out for now because I don't want to have to pack it away to pull it all out again. But this is all stuff that I use when I'm setting up my stall display. So what will happen is once I've finished that show, I will put this stuff away, and then I'll have the dining table to use for maybe more project baskets. I don't know. Or I might put some stock on display on here. I'm not sure. But at the moment, it's just holding all my stuff. And a kid's kitchen, which is going to go out into the cubby house. So that's this little space, and yeah, I really love it. It really makes me feel like I actually have a shop. You know, when you have an online shop, you know, and a lot of your stock is just packed away and you pull it out when, you know, you have an order, it just doesn't seem as fun and doesn't feel as a real, in a way, which might sound funny since I've had my online shop now for 5 years. But because I've always wanted a physical shop, and why I love doing the market so much is because I get to set up my shop and be in my little shop space for a few days. So the other night I was in here before going to bed, and I was just standing here and looking all around and thinking just how happy it made me just to have this little space and to have all my products out where I can see them and where I can easily access them. And yeah, it just felt like I had a shop. So it's really nice, and I really like it. And I think it's cute. And I think if I can get a lovely vintage piece for there that I can decorate, I think it will be really lovely. And I'll put my plates up on that wall. I think it'll be really nice. So there we go. So I really hope you've enjoyed this little studio / shop tour. Yeah, like I've said, it is a real pleasure to come down in the morning with my cup of tea and sit and do my admin work on the computer and cut fabric and cut papers and package up orders and work on my projects and designs. And it's really nice now to have this space that I'm standing in, where I can have all my stock, where I can easily access it and make it feel a bit more like a shop and feel like I'm working in, you know, my dream shop and my future shop, because that's the goal. The goal next year is to get into a physical shop space where I can have all of my beautiful products. And it's not just going to be patchwork. There's going to be tea and tea related products, vintage pieces, gardening related things, books, all things that I love, and that sort of represent myself and my brand, and all the things that I enjoy using on a daily basis. So and more importantly, somewhere where I can hold workshops, because that's one thing that I can't do here. I can't really have workshops, and I'd really like to have workshops and sit and stitch events and things like that. So yeah, so the goal is to get into a shop next year. My son will go to kindy, so it seems like a good time. And until then, I will just potter away and work hard in my little space here that I'm so grateful to have. So thank you so much. Thank you for your support. If you are a customer and you purchase from my shop, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It really means so much. Every order is just gives me a smile and so much joy, and I love putting those orders together for you. I love putting together fabric packs and kits and slow stitch bits and pieces. I love doing all that, and I love designing, and I love sharing my designs, sharing all my knowledge and my tips, and I love to share that here on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram as well, Facebook, and of course my website. And you can find all the links to those places down below in the description. So thanks so much for being here. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again soon. Happy stitching, friends.